Welcome back, Clone Club. This is Season 5, the final season. Episode 2, Clutch of Greed. I'm Will Link, and with me as always...
Hi guys, I'm Megan Salinas.
And this is a rough episode.
The hell, dude? They are not... Here's the thing, since it's the final season, they are not pulling their punches. Like, in any way, shape, or form. They're like, we've got a lot of plot to get through and not a lot of time, so we're just gonna go.
Not pulling their punches or not pulling their stomping on people.
Too soon! Too soon!
This episode, I actually thought there wasn't really a lot of Allison, but other than that, it was a good balance of clones. We got a lot of important Sarah, Rachel, Cosima, and Helena stuff, and of course, what happened with MK. So I thought it was a good balance episode.
To be fair, there wasn't as we see with the brief scenes that we have with Rachel, there's not a whole lot she can do right now. Yeah. And as always, the scenes with not Rachel, sorry, Allison. The brief scenes that we get with Allison, there's not really a whole lot she can do while in police custody, under house arrest. But, as always, the brief scenes that we get with her are absolutely brilliant and jammed-packed with personality.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
So the opening scene, Sarah is back at Dyad now. And you know what? It's weird, though. I didn't realize how long we've been away from Dyad, really. I mean, in Season 4, we were never really at Dyad. Yeah. Season 4, we were never at their old house. It was nice to see some of those kind of...
Those set pieces again.
The return home.
I gotta say, you can just tell with Sarah, she's like, when she opens her eyes, she's like, if I had a nickel for every time I'd woken up under some sort, in the clutches of some evil organization, I would have a lot of nickels.
And it was an interesting opening because she's having this dream, vision, whatever you want to call it, of Kira telling her you have to let go. And
Chiffon pops up too, yeah.
And I think the thing that obviously becomes obvious when you have to let go of, Kira's saying that about herself. That you're going to have to give in to this plan that Rachel has.
What is the price of peace? Yeah.
And actually that's a good question. Because, you know, Ferdinand asks, is Sarah Manning ready to behave? Ooh. And here's the thing. We know there's gonna be some creepy, ulterior motive kind of thing going on. But on the surface, I actually think it is worth the price of peace.
What I'm getting from this whole episode is, one, I think Kira might be a dream warrior, a la Nightmare on Elm Street 3, aka the best one. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Two, I think, and maybe I'm being gullible, or maybe I'm being too quick to jump to this conclusion, but I think Rachel genuinely means it when she says she wants peace, and when she says she doesn't want Kira to have a disrupted life. And yes, she wants to restart cloning, and yes, she wants to put bots in clones, and all of those clones are going to be screwed as a result. But as far as our Sestras are concerned, and the Lita clones, I legitimately think Rachel's being sincere. Otherwise, I don't think Kira would be so adamant about going along with everything. If she felt malintent from Rachel, she wouldn't hesitate to leave.
Well, here's the thing. We've talked about it here. Kira Magic. We want to get to the bottom of Kira Magic. You know who else wants to get to the bottom of Kira Magic? Rachel.
Kira. And Kira.
And Kira later, as we find in the episode. But in that opening, when Sarah and Rachel confront each other, she's basically saying, your daughter is special. We need to study this. And you want to know what? I'm not trying to defend Rachel here.
No, she's done terrible things.
Let's put it this way. If Cosima said those exact same lines, you would think it's reasonable. Yeah, we should get to the bottom of what's going on with Kira. It's just because we know Rachel represents a giant corporation and neo-lutionism.
2 episodes ago, she stabbed our main character in the leg, shanked her mother, and did a whole bunch of other not super nice things in the past.
But here's the thing, and this to me is the key, the big thing about this episode, and a lot happens in this one, but to me, we meet the man behind the curtain. MK dies. But to me, the big question of this episode is what Ferdinand asked Rachel in their last scene together when he's like, who are you now? Who is Rachel now? Because she is like, she's got some weird Zen bullshit mentality going on now.
I gotta say though, her wardrobe in the opening of this episode, horrendous. I don't know what she's wearing.
It's a very peaceful, serene outfit.
It's very breathable, and I did not like that you could see her bra. I like her pocket watch necklace. That's adorable.
But let me tell you what, she's not shopping at in the Cold Bitch Monthly catalog anymore.
I'm not normally going to be critiquing the fashion choices of each clone, but that one was not particularly on point, Rachel. I expect better of you.
But I mean, one meeting. I mean, okay, we watched this episode together, and you said to me, "Is she brainwashed?"
Yeah.
And so here's the thing: she had one meeting with P.T. Westmoreland, and it was enough. Like it was enough to make her change her ways completely. Is this? Normally, I would say this is some long con from Rachel. Like, she's got a bigger picture in mind. But because of the way she treats Ferdinand, who's someone I believe that she had genuine love and affection for, I think Rachel is changed in some weird way. And is it a brainwashing? Or is it that she is so in awe of the fact that she met the cow to her cheese?
Weird.
Which is a real.
What an odd metaphor.
But it's an actual Sir Arthur Conan Doyle poem.
Yeah.
And I mean, is she just so taken by that?
I'm with you in terms of I think what we're seeing is at least at bare minimum Rachel trying to reform, and we kind of get that because Rachel and Ferdinand are having this intimacy issue where they're having he's like, come on, hit me, because that's what he's into, and she's like, I don't need to anymore. And
she's a little too at peace.
And that's the thing is, I would definitely be willing to believe we've seen the bots being able to adjust things on a genetic level. What if this faction of Neolution has something that can straight up alter your brain chemistry?
And PT got a bot in her?
What if she's just got a bot in her that is constantly releasing dopamine every time she falls in line with whatever it is PT Westmoreland wants?
It's making her calmer in her handling of all situations, but it's also making her less sexually adventurous. Poor Ferdinand.
I know you and I both watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah. I could see both a happy to comply sort of brainwashing, but also the Hive brainwashing that they had, where it's straight up just constantly flooding the brain with dopamine. I would be willing to believe those things. I also would be willing to believe that Rachel genuinely believes in this charlatan. And I'm kind of with you, is I feel like at the moment we can quote unquote trust Rachel, but we cannot trust PT Westmoreland.
Yeah.
I feel like he's got stuff going on that she is completely unaware of.
I want to get to PT. I want to kind of finish this trail of Rachel and Sarah, because they also, so Rachel might be drinking the Kool-Aid, but Sarah obviously is not. And we have some of our, I feel like, best cat and mouse stuff that we've had in a while, where we kind of see the networks operating, we kind of see them
it's really cool to see them try to be one step ahead of one another.
Yeah,
those are some of my favorite types of television, is when you have two characters who are very smart and very capable trying to play speed chess with one another, and it's always really fascinating. It's one of the reasons why I love Death Note so much. It's a lot of fun to watch.
It's one of there was that great moment that was kind of badass in it where all of a sudden we see S's in the school too, and she's got Kira. She had passed Kira on to him. They're putting a little hat on her. That was fun seeing the way they operate, and that's always great because that's the stuff that S is really good at. So it's good to see her in her element working that way.
I also like when it's believable, though.
Yeah.
Like, you're not just like, wait a minute, there's no explanation. It's not like a Pirates of the Caribbean, like, hey, wait, how did Will get out of the sinking ship sort of moment. It's something that makes sense and is in line with the type of people that we see.
Yeah. It's all skills that are character-based here at this point. Sarah was a grifter based. S has run this network. But, Kira's going back to school. The best line of the episode about the car accident, it was a real
Sorry
bitch.
to hear about your car accident.
Yeah.
Did anybody get the number of that bitch?
Yeah, that was really great. And basically, what Sarah decides she wants to do is there is no way they're letting Rachel run these experiments on, I don't even know if it's experiments, but research on Kira. Study Kira.
And her unique physiology.
And they basically, MK kind of comes to the rescue in a way that she can give them a way out. But it's going to be a door, and here's the minute I knew this obviously wasn't going to work, when Felix said it's a door that can't be reopened, you're going to be gone forever, and I'm like, well, this isn't going to work because we still have 8 episodes of this series left.
This is such an upsetting aspect of the episode. It is downright heart-wrenching.
Well, MK is also a few things. One, we knew MK was sick. I don't think we realized how sick she really was.
How far along in her stages she was, yeah.
Because we never really spend a lot of one-on-one time with MK on the show. Secondly, she's very concerned about them starting up human cloning again, which is...
It's a legitimate concern.
A legitimate concern. And when she says this is bigger than Kira, this is bigger than... Yes, and that's the reason why we still can't trust Rachel ultimately, because she wants to restart this program.
At least that was before P.T. Westmoreland, so, like, the plan to restart cloning with bots might have changed because of, I don't know, brainwashing, but we'll see.
We don't know the full orders that have come down from PT.
But you're right, though. It's something that we, as far as MK knows, for sure cannot trust Sarah.
But MK decides she's going to help them get out of there. And she sets up the whole thing. Now, the one thing I push back in this episode is I honestly don't understand her reluctance to go to the lab while she was staying in Felix's apartment. I think that's, from a storytelling standpoint, a little bit of a weak link in this episode. And we never really get a great explanation. And if we do, and I'm just missing it, please let us know. But we never really get a great explanation of why she's gonna stay there. But she does, because she's MK, and she does do weird things.
She's quirky.
Yeah.
Little tiny bit paranoid.
And Sarah, being true to her promise and to her sestras, decides, no, MK, I'm going to come to you. I'm going to come say, but the problem is, Ferdinand, who's being a little cold on Rachel now, he's cooled down on her, and he sees... he basically, because he didn't want to hang out with Rachel, he goes to the back of the school, sees Sarah as Rachel, dressed as Rachel. Also, by the way, I love that both of them had a limp in the episode.
Yeah.
That's a great touch. But he sees her, follows her to Felix's loft, where MK is, and we get this great moment where MK decides she wants to stay behind. And the thing that's great about that scene is, from just a technical standpoint, it is one shot. It's one shot zipping around the room as the two clones exchange clothes. Again, a great Tatiana playing off Tatiana moment, but also this is one of those where you have to give a lot of credit to the direction, the technical aspect, and
the director, the camera work, the editors, everybody working in the effects.
And
this was a seamless sequence.
And Catherine Alexander always having to play the other clone that we don't see. I mean, that's a big scene for her as an actress to have to work in block
And a lot of
too.
her work gets overlooked, obviously, because she's taken out of the finished product. But if she's not there being just as on point as Tatiana, then, like...
And that's one of those moments when you really need her, and you really need her to be on her game, and her and Tatiana working the... You know, it's funny, side note, I was watching... I watched Designated Survivor. It's a fun show. Anyway, I'm watching it.
Jack Bauer.
Yeah, exactly. Jack Bauer is the president. I'm watching, there was an episode last season where a doctor showed up, and she was only on screen for maybe like a couple seconds, but it was Catherine Alexander. And I immediately tweeted like, oh my God, Catherine Alexander on... But anyway, so this is a great scene, and, you know, Sarah leaves to go be with Kira, and MK's going to hold off Ferdinand. She's got a knife. MK, who should have just finished off Ferdinand back in the day when she had him.
And I feel bad in hindsight because I was glad Ferdinand made it out of that situation alive, and now I'm like, well, damn it.
Well, because James Frain is such a great actor, and he put so much charm into Ferdinand. As bad as Ferdinand is, he put so much charm into it. It's so one of those, he's so good at being bad that you love him, but now it's going to be tough to love him because he comes in and...
He and Rachel need to work through their issues.
Yes, because that scene is full on crazy pants because MK, doing a terrible British accent, turns around to go kill him. And he, of course, overpowers her. She's sick. She's a computer hacker. She's not like a fighter in the same way. And she's ill. And Ferdinand's an expert at this. And he immediately gets her down on the ground.
I think for being a non-con artist, I think she did a great job at imitating Sarah's voice.
I don't know.
She was doing her best, and she's not a voice actress. Which, by the way, again, not to continually go back to the refrain of how great Tatiana Maslany is, but again, this is Tatiana Maslany playing MK, playing Sarah. It's just, it's
and
so many layers.
Off on the accent. It's harder to do. It's harder, like, as an actor, I got to imagine the hardest thing is to, like, act bad, but act bad convincingly. But okay, so now get to the bad part. He gets her down on the ground, and it's like, what is going to happen? All of a sudden, all these feelings are coming because one, MK stole all his money, basically ruined him. Two, Helsinki. He even says, I
get to finish Helsinki.
Finish Helsinki. And three, there's this crazy stuff going on in Ferdinand's hand where she's dressed as Rachel, and he's having a lot of problems with the fact that Rachel has kind of put the kibosh on their BDSM relationship, and he starts stomping on her. It was so, again, every week now with the show, there's something that's making me gasp, and this moment, it was like it was really hard to watch. And one of the other reasons it's hard to watch, and we talked about this a little bit in our season preview, not a lot of, other than Paul, no real major characters have died on this show.
They've had some shocking deaths, like Leaky's death for sure.
And Leaky
Edie
and
Cho.
Kendall, but we haven't had a clone we've gotten to know. In the very first episode, we have Katya getting shot, but we don't really know anything about her. So now, after years, this is the first time we get to really watch a clone we followed.
This is the first time in a while that a clone has died, yeah.
And someone we got to follow, like Jennifer Fitzsimmons, like these are people that we've never really followed. Beth, we see Beth die in the opening scene, and as emotional it was last season, getting that whole journey.
Going back to that, yeah.
It's still, we know she's dead. This is the first time we see a clone brutally die. We see someone with Tatiana Maslany's face die, which is a big thing. It's just,
It's so upsetting.
And it was a rough death that had big ramifications because Kira, who is sensing all these clones, knows MK's dead, is heartbroken by it, and refuses to go. She's basically in that moment telling her mom, like, you ruined this, you should have just let me go with Auntie Rachel, and everything would be fine. Because remember, Kira also can sense Rachel's feelings.
And her intent, which is why I think, at least as far as Kira is concerned, we can trust Rachel, because Rachel's always had a soft spot for her anyway.
Well, Rachel wanted to, like, raise her as a daughter.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where, because of how Kira reacts to MK's death, and seeing and feeling all of that, ultimately MK died for nothing. MK died for nothing. It was one of the most brutal deaths this series has thrown at us. And she died for no reason.
That's and I've already seen a lot of people online upset that the character died for nothing. And
that's the way life goes sometimes, guys.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
At least she died believing that she had helped Sarah and Kira get away. That's at least a little bit of a consolation. Now,
Rachel, I agree that Rachel wouldn't do anything to hurt Kira. And I've said this before, that I believe there will eventually be a Rachel redemption arc. And to me, the thing that's going to redeem her is her love of Kira, is her connection she makes with Kira.
I agree.
And I think what's going to end up happening, prediction, that at some point, P.T. Westmoreland's going to want to do some crazy shit.
He's going to want to dissect her or something.
And that's when Rachel is going to go up against him. That's my prediction.
She's going to put her foot down.
Yeah.
If I may, my prediction is that a Rachel redemption arc will come in the form of, one, love of Kira, and two, finding out that P.T. Westmoreland is a charlatan.
Let's talk about P.T. Westmoreland.
That guy.
So,
Wizard of Oz.
Cosima, Cosima's still in revival, and she's eating seaweed and taking vitamins, or not taking vitamins.
I love that she's like, Mud, who are you? Who even are you, Mud? Really? Come on.
And basically she's examining, what's the girl's name? Aisha, that I think she's
got a brain tumor or something along those lines.
I don't know if it was, but yeah, she's got a tumor. She's examining
dying
her.
of cancer.
She's trying to find out, and also she's trying to see how her trials are going, and she gets the call to go up to the big house, and she goes in, and there's all like,
there's a Victrola playing, and there's a photo of P.T. and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and a turtle that was owned by Darwin himself.
The Victrola, as that music's playing, what I thought was, they always say like, oh, your musical taste always kind of like, I'm still listening to like Nirvana and things like that from high school, and I'm like,
P.T. to so much garbage in high school.
Yeah, I'm still like reviewing that. I'm like, P.T. his musical tastes haven't changed.
I think he's a method actor, is what I think he is.
And also P.T.'s fashion sense has not changed much either. So P.T. Westmoreland, I got to say, he's played by Stephen McHattie, who is a terrific character actor. You've seen him in A History of Violence. He's great in that. He was in the Watchmen movie. He's in this great Canadian horror film called, indie horror film called Pontypool, which he's the star of, where he plays a radio DJ.
That sounds awesome!
If you ever want to see that.
Do you have the DVD? Can I borrow it?
I don't have the DVD, but it's worth seeing. It's a weird little indie film. So anyway, we find out a couple of things in this scene where she meets P.T., and the biggest being that the cure seems to be working. And
fingers crossed.
I
hope we don't need to deal with that for a ton more episodes.
We can't go back to something of now it's not working. No, it has to.
I do like that she is coughing at the beginning of the episode and talking to Charlotte, and she's like, "These are trials. You know how this goes." But because if it's magically fixed, that's kind of a here's the thing, it's a catch-22. If it's magically fixed, that's a cop-out. If it's not fixed quick enough, then we're annoyed by how long it takes.
Yeah.
So, because we know it's going to work.
As long as we don't get to a scenario where suddenly it's not working, or suddenly it's like, we took the cure away from you. We have to move on from this. We only have 8 hours of the series left.
Aww,
yeah, I know.
It's a countdown.
So, Cosima kind of pushes back against PT, and PT tells that whole poem, that Arthur Conan Doyle poem about, basically about him being her creator, and she's not really giving him a second thought. She's more concerned.
She's like, look, you made me, so what's the deal?
And I don't blame her for not really giving it a second, because
Let's cut to the chase, dude.
She wants to get the cure. Now, she does give, at the end, he relents, and he's like, save Charlotte, save your sisters.
Then you'll get to chat with the cow.
Yeah. Well, you get to, maybe one day she'll think about the cow. And I guess what we're setting up is a scenario in which, like, he wants her to owe him one down the line.
Well, and that's the other thing right now, too, of, like, again, why he's clearly a charlatan is like, hey, you work on this science thing. Don't worry about this here curtain that I've been hiding behind. Like, don't even worry about that right now. You focus on you, and then we'll worry about the curtain another day. It's totally fine.
So, obviously, you guys have figured out we are doubling down on this idea that he is a charlatan.
Oh, fuck that guy. Pardon my language, but fuck that guy.
Like, maybe you think differently. If you do think differently, I want to hear from you. I am having trouble believing that this is a 170-year-old man.
I think that this guy's a charlatan who just wants proprietary rights to cutting-edge technology. Honestly, like, he's probably got patents on cloning, patents on, like, all of these scientific breakthroughs that all of these smart cult people are in.
After last week, you made some Lost comparisons to Revival, comparing to the others, and they're on an island. @BadWolfBay10 tweeted at us a great analogy we didn't make, to continue the Lost analogy, that PT is Jacob in the scenario. If we go down the Lost analogy, is Jacob. I thought that was a fun analogy to make. So, I mean...
Is there a smoke monster running around on the island, too?
So, well, who knows what's going to happen.
I mean, maybe that's what's out there. Maybe that's what's, like, the feral people
Oh, that's right, there are
like,
feral people on
They
this
come
island.
together to make a giant smoke monster.
I totally forgot about the feral people from last
There
week.
was so much craziness in this episode.
Yeah.
You forgot about the crazy feral people living on the other side of the island.
So, speaking of the island, Ira's going back to the island, and in the second best line of the episode, when he is told, "Your mom's gonna be okay," referring to Susan, who is his mom, technically, kind of.
Which is why I hate the fact that they're together.
It's also his Susan. Yeah, so there you go. But Ira also needs that cure.
He does.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic plays when Ira gets to revive.
I will say his face when he was told your mom is going to be fine was pretty priceless.
Yeah, that was a great look from Ari Millen or whatever. That was a great little bit of.
That was a great acting choice. That was a wonderful acting choice.
Okay. Let's touch on Allison real fast before we get into the woman impersonating Allison in the hospital.
Like I said, not a ton with her, but oh my gosh, jam-packed with personality. So funny.
Well, the community center. I mean, there's been a coup at the church
I have
thing.
to stop this insurrection.
Allison is, she's with Art and Maddie. Maddie being I don't like this Maddie.
I would like her if she was good. Like I love tough female cops who don't take any shit from anybody, but like she's evil. So like I have to hate her.
And I feel bad for Art because Art is completely neutered by this whole situation. There's nothing he can do.
He's completely helpless in this scenario.
And Allison, I did like, and this is another like screenwriting thing that they like, well, we got to get this in there. The phone call of like, oh, the kids are, the kids miss you. Like it's your mom and my grandchildren doing fine down here in Florida. Everything's good. And it's like, okay, so now we've got Allison's kids out of the way.
Yeah.
We'll never see them again.
Well, they're probably growing like weeds in real life. It's
yeah,
been several
I mean that's
years.
what it is. That's. I mean, even Kira's getting like this is.
She can't keep playing like for the last 2 seasons. She's been playing way younger than she actually is at this point.
Yeah.
Like
this is the
time marches on.
This is the biggest she's looked. Like she looks like she's grown.
She's becoming a little lady.
Yeah.
But
you can't have her suddenly hitting puberty and then teaching kids how to like multiply
like
things.
she's still very much like coloring, but like she looks like any day now she's gonna start listening to punk music.
Yeah, exactly. Just like her mom.
But again, I think my favorite bit from Allison, apart from the insurrection line, was just the Rachel's very nice Neos. You know, were kind enough to drop me off at home. It's just like I love Allison and how wonderfully passive aggressive she can be.
But Donnie, still out there, still at the hospital with Helena, not checking in with Allison because
he knows not to call her because she was kidnapped by Neos. Yeah.
Even though it's clear from the outside perspective that if he did call and come in, he would just be at home with his wife, like nothing crazy would be happening to him. But he, But
he has to make sure Helena's okay.
I was talking to some people on
Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter. Yeah. About Donnie, because we defended Donnie a little bit, and a lot of people were pushing back, like, the guy should have helped. And look, I get that too. He should have. Obviously, your gut instinct I would like to think if my wife was being kidnapped, my gut instinct would immediately try to do something.
Is the same. If I had a significant other, I would probably hope that my first instinct would also be to go and be their white knight.
But, Helena does need help in this moment, so it's good that she has him there. Few things about this Helena. First of all...
Jesus!
The babies, she senses one of them was hurt. But then, when the neonatal care person comes in and does the ultrasound, the wound is healed because her babies have Kira magic.
They do. They have Kira magic.
Helena knows it. They could heal really fast, like Kira. But Helena is not trusting these people. Helena wants to go off the grid again. I have seen some debate also online whether this doctor was just a friendly, helpful doctor or a Neo, and a lot of people she was definitely a Neo. I think she was just a doctor.
I kind of do too.
I don't think she was doing anything. I mean, there were a couple, the way the camera lingers when she pulls the curtain and stuff, it's meant to be a little ambiguous.
It's meant to be, keep the audience on their toes.
But I think she was just a doctor, and oh my God, she got the needle for the.
Even if she wasn't.
What's the procedure? I'm blanking.
They needed to take some amniotic fluid to check for infection. I don't remember the name of the procedure. But you're absolutely right. Even if she was a Neo, though. Unless she's a straight up murderer, I think this was kind of undeserved. Because a lot of Neos are just kind of middlemen. To be honest.
Here's the thing, I ended up, I said we watched it together, that was actually my second time watching it. And I didn't notice the detail the first time. When she shoves the needle through her cheek.
Through the tongue!
I didn't notice that the first time. I think I was too taken aback by what Helena did. But if you were too thrown off by what Helena did to notice the little detail of it goes through her tongue too. That was horrific. What Helena did to who I think is just probably.
I think she's just a regular doctor too, just doing her job, and again, and a prenatal doctor too. Her job is taking care of babies. This is so undeserved.
Oh my God.
And again, even if she is a Neo, as we were, referring to, I don't think this was deserved unless she has a straight up rap sheet. I feel like this was just a woman doing her job, and I'm very upset by it. Oh, so dark.
But then Helena, but it's also, the stuff with Helena is also always kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because then, of course, she's getting out of there, she...
car keys.
Yeah.
Well, here you go.
And where is she going? She whispers to Donnie that only Sarah could know.
And this seems to be a place that Donnie knows, too, because he's like, really? Like, that's where you're going to go?
So speculation, where is she going? I don't know. That's why I put it on you. Like, where could she be going to hide out?
I don't know. The Lost Island? I don't...
I mean,
maybe they know some... Do they have, like, a mutual acquaintance in London or something? Or
nah, she can't fly. Not in her condition.
Not in her condition. Is there... I don't know. I have a hard time.
Yeah, I don't know what this is going to be. But
maybe she's going to go stay with Gracie?
Oh, wait a second.
Maybe? I don't know. That's
not the worst thought, that if there's a way that we bring Mark and Gracie back into the mix, that's actually really good, I think. But the thing is, she's going off again. Helena has this history of going off and disappearing for a while, and I don't want you disappearing for too long, Helena.
You stay. You
Yeah.
stay. You
Because
stay and have your babies.
I want Helena around in this storyline. But that'd be an interesting... Gracie would be an interesting...
Would be an interesting choice.
And somebody who has, from her time as in the Prolethean cult there,
I'm just
has spent time around midwives and children and might be able to help her.
How interesting would it be if Gracie's the one that delivers Helena's babies?
It'd be fitting. Oh, I like this idea now. I hope that's where she's going.
I mean, I'm just trying to think of Helena's former contacts and who else she could possibly be in contact with and in good standing with, who is also still alive. And that list is a very short list. And that's why I went to Gracie, because either she's going to hang out in another yurt somewhere else, or Gracie and Mark.
What's frustrating is the reality of this is that Helena probably should just stay with Allison. And so she probably shouldn't run away. Although, you know what? Who the hell knows what they're going to do, because she has magic babies.
When P.T. Westmoreland pulls the rug out from under them, who's going to come to the rescue? Helena. Because she's off the grid.
She's going to have had the babies, and she's going to come back with a baby on each arm and kick everyone's ass.
She's going to have, like, those baby carriers where, like, you strap the baby to your chest, and she's just going to come in swinging.
Now, one more thing to bring up. We have to bring up the final scene. S is sitting there having a whiskey, waiting for, it's been a bad day.
It's been a very bad day.
And there's someone comes to the back door, so naturally she grabs her gun. And
very natural reaction.
Looks in, and who is it? It's not a ghost. It's Delphine.
Why would it have been a ghost?
Because she said, Delphine goes, and she says the line at that moment, like, I'm not a ghost. And she's like, yeah, I heard you were alive. Or whatever. That was a terrible Mrs. S if I was trying to do a Mrs. S.
I've heard you've been alive.
Yeah. It's late. It's been a very long day.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, it's way later than we meant to record this.
So,
my bad.
No, I had a very long night last night. But the point is, Delphine is coming, and this is another reason why. Okay, here's a couple things. We know P.T. Westmoreland. The reason we are doubling down on the fact he's a charlatan is that we know he has to be bad because
Delphine feels the need to work in secret.
And also, then what the hell kind of season will this be if he's not
it turns out he's just a nice guy. He's just a 170-year-old grandpa who's like, I just want my clone grandchildren to be great.
I mean, I guess there is a chance that he's not a charlatan, but still he is clearly going to be the villain. And Delphine going there to warn her is the proof, because Delphine knows things. And I guess we're going to have to wait to find out next week what she knows. It has to be more about their plans with the human cloning and genetically modifying people. And that's obviously what it has to be. But what I'm hoping is that we've gone down this road before. What I'm hoping is that the writers will give us something, a new twist on that we will be completely horrified by and have not seen before.
Well, again, they've done a very good job of surprising us in the past. I feel like they can pull it off again this season. And besides, nobody who dresses like they're in the 1800s in modern day, could possibly be not evil. Like, right?
Yes. Although
right?
I'm thinking of adapting that as my new look.
You want to go around dressing like a gentleman from the 1880s?
Yes, exactly. It's a classy look. And speaking of classy, no matter what the situation, Delphine's hair always looks good.
Always on point. She always looks good, though, right?
Yeah. Couple of shout-outs I also want to give before we end the episode.
Twitter shout-outs.
We, on YouTube, almost right after we put this up, why can't I read my handwriting? Is that photo or poto? Roll-on.
Potato.
Potato.
No, let's see.
This is my fault.
Potato, I think. Potato rolling.
I see your messages late at night and I'm like, oh, all right.
Why don't we just call them rolling?
Anyway, they pointed out that the titles for this season are taken from a poem by Ella Wheeler Wilcox called Protest. And then also at Epic Skyline sent us an article from BBC America that discusses where these titles come from. So it's a good read, and I read the poem, and it was a good poem, so look that up.
Or if you want us to do a reading of it next time, we can do a dramatic reading at the beginning of the episode.
I was this close to doing a dramatic reading of that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle poem about the cheese.
Next time, can you get like a beret, and we'll do 2 dramatic poetry readings?
It's going to be a whole beat poetry thing.
This will be black and white. And it will be phenomenal.
So are there, please, I barely can know how to edit this for YouTube. I'm going to turn it black and white.
I'll show you how to do it. It's going to be great.
So, Megan, is there anything you want to add before we go? I feel like we covered.
I feel like we covered just about everything. This was a rough episode to get through. It was rough to see MK go. But I'm very pleased that this is our 2nd episode of the season. I don't feel my sense of trepidation from last week has pretty much dissipated, because maybe it'll come back when we focus more on the feral people in the woods.
When we have a whole episode about mud, then we'll be ready.
Who are you? But ultimately, I won't say I enjoyed this episode because it was so upsetting. But this was a great episode. I
thought so too.
And I like where this is indicating where we're going for the rest of the season.
And the conflict that it is setting up between Rachel and Sarah is very good, because it's also about sisterhood, it's about motherhood, and it's setting up an interesting conflict that, since Kira was kidnapped at the end of season 1, we've really been waiting for. So
yeah, and I like the idea that no, we're not running from this anymore. Kira deserves to know what she is.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Kira's absolutely right that she should want to know what the deal is with her. She deserves
answers. Yeah.
However, Sarah's her mother. It's tough. It's a tricky situation, because I've seen people argue both sides of this, where
sometimes
it's like she
parents don't know what's best.
Parents just don't understand.
Parents are just doing their best.
I believe the Fresh Prince said it best when he said,
"This is a story all about how his life."
No, wasn't it the parents don't. Wasn't that a Fresh Prince?
I have no idea. I don't know what you're referring to.
It's a thing. It was a thing. I think it was the 80s. Megan, why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at themenguin. That's TheMenguin. I am also on a bunch of shows at a network called AfterBuzz TV, where I do stuff for them and Popcorn Talk. And I also write articles for the Movie Chick. That's Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out. Be sure to also check out my YouTube channel, where I do a series called Silver Screams, where we talk about horror movies and TV shows. And also be sure to check out the Shadow Radio Recreation, where I do the voice of Margot Lane.
You do a lot of things. You can follow me on Twitter at The Real Will Link. Also, Will Sean podcast, my podcast. We're recording a good episode this week with this woman Maria Howell, who she was in Hidden Figures, and she's been in a lot of great stuff. We're going to talk to her about all of that. So yeah, until then, Clone Club, we will see you next week.